I've done research for leading companies, including Sony PlayStation and 2 Google-backed startups. I also help countless small businesses with their consumer and business-to-business market research. I have an MBA from the #1 market research school in the world, Philip Kotler's Kellogg School of Management. Now, this course covers every single type of market research. But first, I want to give you a few practical, quick research hacks. Number 1, my single favorite type of market research is simple conversations. All you do is you pay people for their time. Maybe it's $75, maybe it's $300 if you need to speak to executives. You email them, you direct message them, you write them on Instagram, you write them on their contact page, you do whatever it takes to get in touch with them, you offer them money, and they give you feedback. It's very simple. One approach you can take is you can go to this website called SparkToro. What SparkToro will do is it'll tell you who influences your target audience, and then you can solicit them to get input. Another thing you can do, go to Facebook groups, write the admins, ask them for input. Now, sometimes they're going to give it to you for free, but you're far more likely to be successful if you pay people. So number 1, simple conversations. Number 2, my second favorite research hack is looking at who is already selling well. So, for example, go to Amazon, type in a keyword, see what the top products are. Look at the products that are highly rated. Look at the products that have a lot of reviews. This tells you where the demand already is. Another key thing is to look at the negative reviews, maybe the 3-star reviews, because those are a little more realistic and fair. What those tell you is where the opportunity may be. So filling a gap that those top selling products aren't filling. All right, number 3 is to go to the investor relation pages for companies in your industry. Now, this only works if those are publicly listed companies, so they're on the stock exchange. Now, you're going to find incredibly valuable information there, especially in the investors' presentations, because what those companies have done is they've already done the research for you for things like how big the market is. And sometimes they're even going to tell you their entire marketing research. So for example, what I did was I looked up Shopify and I was able to see their entire marketing strategy laid out neatly in a little graphic. And there's no reason you can't do that as well. Now, the way most people approach market research, in my opinion, is wrong. Typically what they do is they jump straight to things like surveys and start asking questions like, what is your age? What is your gender? Now, you rarely ever start your market research with surveys because surveys are what we call quantitative research. Typically, you start your research with qualitative research, things like interviews and chatting with people, as I suggested earlier. The other key problem here is, even if you are doing surveys, you would never start with demographic questions like your age and your sex, because people find those questions boring. You typically put those at the very end. The other key thing is that those kinds of data are rarely useful. Now, it's useful if you're selling something like lingerie, but often what's more important is why people are using the product, not who they are from a demographic perspective. Another key problem with that type of research is you're often getting feedback from existing customers or colleagues or friends rather than people that represent the big market opportunity or the larger audience that represents the market. That's why you should instead be relying on things like sentiment. This is this cool website tool that allows you to collect data from panels, from people that are representative of your target market at large. Okay, now another thing that people often do is they jump straight to something called A/B testing. And I love A/B testing. I'm going to talk about later in the course. But the problem here with A/B testing is that typically what you're measuring is short-term behavior. A/B testing is typically going to ignore long-term things that are often more important, which are things like brand memory. And if you're working in a startup, for example, short-term behavior doesn't really matter because people aren't really that familiar with you and it's going to take time to start changing behavior. What matters early on is attitudes. Now, as you go through this course, what I want you to do is I want you to avoid doing research for research's sake and start looking for quick hacks, quick shortcuts like I've given you earlier. Because the most useful research is going to be the research that produces action.